Picture this: Christmas party, 200 guests in designer gowns, champagne towers, crystal chandeliers, and me, 7 months pregnant, forced to my knees on a marble floor, my husband's hand on his mistress's waist, his mother smiling as she made me thank the woman who was sleeping with my husband, in front of everyone. But here's what they didn't know. Santa Claus was watching, and he had a badge. This is the story of the worst night of my life that became my greatest victory. Hit that like button, drop a comment if you've ever trusted the wrong person, and subscribe because this revenge, it's absolutely worth it. Let's go. Have you ever wondered how far someone would go to break you? How many witnesses they would gather to watch you fall? I found out at a Christmas party, 7 months pregnant, on my knees in front of 200 people. My name is Claire Ashford, and the marble floor beneath me was so cold it burned through my green velvet dress. The baby inside me had gone completely still, as if she knew to hide. Above me stood Tessa Vaughn in a blood-red dress and diamonds that caught the light like shattered glass. Behind her, my husband Brandon watched with empty eyes. His mother Diane's voice cut through the silent ballroom like a knife. "Thank her, Claire. Thank Tessa for making Brandon happy." My hands shook. 200 phones captured every second. Someone in the crowd laughed, high-pitched and cruel. The sound echoed off the vaulted ceiling of the Sutton family penthouse. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. How had I gotten here? How had my life become this nightmare? Let me take you back 12 hours, to when I still believed in happy endings. That morning, I stood in my brownstone apartment, the one I had kept despite Brandon's insistence I sell it. He called it wasteful to maintain 2 residences. Now I understand he wanted me to have nothing of my own. Nowhere to run. I was packing for the Christmas gala, ignoring every red flag my body was screaming at me to see. The invitation had arrived by courier that morning, formal and strange. "Mrs. Sutton, your presence is requested at the annual Christmas celebration. Guest of honor, Sutton Tower Penthouse, 7 p.m. sharp." Guest of honor seemed odd. Brandon and I had discussed having the party at the estate in Connecticut, not the city penthouse. And why would they send a formal invitation to his wife? I called Brandon 3 times, straight to voicemail, every single time. My sister Paige called while I was getting dressed. She is a nurse with good instincts about people. "You sure you want to go? You look exhausted in that selfie you sent. Maybe skip it and rest." I defended him like I always did. "He's just stressed with the merger. The tech acquisition has him working 20-hour days. Things will calm down after New Year's." Paige was quiet for a moment. "Claire, when was the last time he came home? Actually came home and stayed the night?" I couldn't remember. 2 weeks, 3. He's been at the office. There's a couch in his suite. There are a lot of things in his suite. I bet," Paige muttered. "Just be careful tonight. Something feels wrong." I hung up and stared at myself in the mirror. The green velvet maternity gown had looked elegant online. Now it felt like a costume for a role I no longer understood. My hand went to my belly, feeling the baby kick. Strong kicks. Angry kicks. Almost. "It's fine," I whispered to my reflection. "Everything's fine." I didn't believe it. Deep down, I had not believed it for months. My phone buzzed. Finally, a text from Brandon. "Come alone. I have a surprise. Trust me. Trust me." Those 2 words should have sent me running. Instead, I grabbed my coat and headed for the car Brandon had sent. A black town car with a driver I did not recognize. Another red flag I ignored. The drive across the city took 30 minutes. I watched Christmas lights blur past the window and tried to remember when things had changed. When had Brandon stopped kissing me goodbye? When had he started smelling like perfume that was not mine? When had I become so good at pretending not to notice? The car pulled up to Sutton Tower. 50 stories of glass and steel. Brandon's headquarters and the family penthouse on top. The driver opened my door without a word. I stepped onto the sidewalk and looked up at the building. Every window blazed with light. I was so focused on the building I almost missed it. In the reflection of the glass doors, I saw the driver pull out his phone and make a call. His voice was low, but I caught 2 words. "She's here." The elevator ride to the 50th floor felt like ascending to my execution. Soft jazz played through hidden speakers. The walls were mirrors. I watched myself from every angle. A pregnant woman in a velvet dress, clutching her purse like a shield. The doors opened onto chaos wrapped in Christmas cheer. The Sutton penthouse looked like a magazine spread come to life. 20-foot ceilings dripped with crystal chandeliers. Ice sculptures of angels flanked the entrance. A champagne tower dominated one corner, bubbles catching the light. White roses filled every surface, their scent thick and cloying. A string quartet played near the windows, their music dark and ominous despite the cheerful carol of the bells, but arranged in a minor key that made my skin crawl. 200 people in formal wear filled the space. I recognized faces from Brandon's business world, from Diane's charity boards, from the country club, society people, old money people, people who had always looked at me like I did not quite belong. Every conversation stopped when I stepped out of the elevator. 200 pairs of eyes found me. The silence was deafening. Then I saw him. Brandon stood in the center of the ballroom, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. He wore a black tuxedo that probably cost more than most people's cars. His dark hair was perfectly styled. His smile was bright and empty. His hand rested on another woman's waist. She was young, maybe 26 to my 32, tall and slender in a way I used to be, before the pregnancy weight and the swelling and the constant exhaustion. Her dress was the color of fresh blood, silk that clung to every curve. Diamonds circled her throat, catching the light with every breath. They were slow dancing to the first Noel. In the middle of a party, while 200 people watched, my legs turned to water. I grabbed the wall for support. The baby kicked hard against my ribs. Once, twice, 3 times, warning me, telling me to run. But I could not move, could not breathe, could not process what I was seeing. There you are, dear. Diane Sutton materialized at my elbow like a shark scenting blood. She wore champagne-colored silk and diamonds that could pay off student loans for an entire university. Her smile was all teeth and no warmth. She linked her arm through mine with surprising strength for a woman in her 60s. Her grip was iron. Come meet everyone. We have so much to celebrate tonight. She steered me across the marble floor. The crowd parted like water. I caught glimpses of faces as we passed. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed hungry for whatever was about to happen. All of them knew something I did not. We stopped in front of Brandon and the woman. Up close, she was even more beautiful. Flawless skin, perfect teeth, eyes like blue ice, cold and calculating. Claire, Diane said brightly, this is Tessa Vaughn. Tessa, this is Claire, Brandon's wife. The word wife hung in the air like a bad joke. Tessa's smile did not reach her eyes. So lovely to finally meet you. Brandon talks about you constantly. Her voice was smooth, cultured, the kind of voice that came from expensive boarding schools and speech coaching. She extended one perfectly manicured hand. I stared at it like it might bite me. I am sorry, I managed. My voice came out scratchy and small. I do not understand what is happening. Don't you go? Diane's grip on my arm tightened. Or have you been choosing not to see before? Brandon finally spoke. His voice was casual, conversational, like we were discussing the weather. Claire, we need to talk. But first, I want you to really look at what is in front of you. He gestured around the ballroom. That is when I noticed the screens. 4 massive displays mounted on the walls, currently showing a loop of winter scenes. Snow falling, fireplaces crackling, Christmas trees twinkling. Brandon snapped his fingers. The winter scenes vanished. The screens filled with photographs. Brandon and Tessa on a beach, her laughing in a bikini. Brandon and Tessa at a cafe in Paris. The Eiffel Tower behind them. Brandon and Tessa in formal wear at what looked like an opera, his arm around her shoulders. Brandon and Tessa in bed. The image cut off at the shoulders, but the intimacy unmistakable. Each photo had a date stamp in the corner. April, June, September, October. During my entire pregnancy. No, I whispered. No, this is not real. This is some kind of joke. It's not a joke. Brandon's voice was gentle, almost kind. That made it worse. It's the truth. I thought you knew. I thought we had an understanding. Understanding. My voice cracked. I am pregnant with your child. We have been married for 5 years. What understanding could we possibly have about you cheating on me? The word cheating fell flat. Several people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. A woman near the champagne tower looked away, but no one intervened. No one told Brandon to stop. No one helped me. Not cheating, Diane corrected smoothly. Evolving. Modern families require modern arrangements. Dear, we thought you understood your role. My role, I repeated numbly. Tessa spoke up, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. May I? She gestured to my belly. Before I could respond, she placed her hand on my stomach. The baby recoiled from her touch, twisting away inside me. Such a blessing, Tessa cooed. A child needs legitimacy. The Sutton name carries weight. We could not have an heir born outside of wedlock. We, she said we, like she and Brandon were a unit, like I was the outsider. I need air. I pulled away from Diane's grip and stumbled toward the windows. My heels clicked too loud on the marble. The sound echoed in my skull. I made it 3 steps before a man in a gray suit blocked my path. I recognized him. Miles Brennan, the Sutton family attorney. I had met him at the wedding, at family dinners, at birthday parties. He had always seemed kind, gentle even. Now his face was carefully neutral. Mrs. Sutton, he said quietly, there are some documents that require your attention before you leave. I'm not signing anything. Get out of my way. I think you will want to see these. He opened a leather folder and held it out. My hands shook as I took it. The pages were dense with legal language, but certain phrases jumped out like they were highlighted in neon. Prenuptial agreement. Separate personal arrangements. Wife acknowledges and consents to husband's outside relationships. In the event of offspring, primary custody shall reside with husband and his designated partner. I never signed this, I whispered. We did not have a prenup. Brandon said he did not believe in them. Page 7, Miles said softly. Your signature is there. I flipped through the pages with numb fingers. There it was. My signature, my handwriting, next to a date from 3 weeks before our wedding. This is impossible. I would remember signing this. I would never agree to these terms. And yet, there it is. Diane had followed me. She stood close enough that I could smell her perfume, expensive and suffocating. Witnessed by 2 attorneys and notarized, completely legal and binding. You forged it. I looked at Brandon. He stood with Tessa, watching me with detached interest, like I was a bug under glass. You forged my signature. This is fraud. Prove it, Diane said simply. Take us to court. Spend your trust fund on lawyers while we spend the Sutton fortune burying you in motions and delays. By the time anything is settled, the baby will be born and custody will be decided. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of a chair to stay upright. You planned this. Before we even got married. You planned to do this to me. We planned to build a family, Diane corrected. A proper Sutton heir requires certain genetics. You are beautiful, healthy, intelligent enough. Your family has good bones, no history of mental illness or addiction. You are perfect for the role. The role of what? An incubator. Such an ugly word. Think of yourself as the biological mother. Tessa will be the actual parent. She and Brandon are much better suited. She comes from old money, real European lineage. She understands our world, our expectations. She can be a true partner as Brandon grows the family empire. Each word was a knife, surgical and precise. I looked around the ballroom desperately. Surely someone would help me. Someone would see how insane this was. But the guests avoided my eyes. Some looked uncomfortable, yes. A few women near the windows had tears on their cheeks. But no one moved. No one spoke up. No one called the police or told the Suttons they had gone too far. They were all complicit. All witnesses. All choosing to let this happen. I need the bathroom, I managed to say. My voice came from very far away. I need a moment. Of course, dear. Diane's smile was all sympathy now. Fake and practiced. Take your time. Compose yourself. We will continue the celebration when you return. She gestured to a hallway past the kitchen. I walked toward it on legs that did not feel like mine. Behind me, the string quartet started playing again. Conversations resumed. Someone laughed. Life went on while mine was ending. The guest bathroom was obscenely luxurious. Marble counters, Gold fixtures, fresh orchids in crystal vases. It smelled like expensive potpourri and lies. I locked the door and sank onto the closed toilet lid. My phone, someone. I needed to call someone. My sister, a lawyer, the police, someone who could stop this nightmare. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. 20 missed calls from Paige. 15 texts. The most recent was all capitals. Do not go to that party. I talked to Holly. This is a trap. Leave now. Holly, Brandon's sister. She had tried to warn me and I had not listened. I started to dial 911. My finger hovered over the call button. But what would I say? My husband is having an affair. The police would tell me to get a divorce lawyer. My in-laws are being cruel. That was not a crime. They forged a prenup and I had no proof except my word against an army of expensive attorneys. I was alone, completely alone, and I had walked straight into their trap with my eyes wide open because I had wanted so badly to believe in the fairy tale. That is when I heard voices outside the bathroom door. Women talking, their words muffled but clear enough. Did you see her face when the photos came up? I almost felt sorry for her. Diane has been planning this for 2 years. Since before the wedding, Holly told me the whole thing. They picked Claire specifically because she would be easy to control. Poor thing thought it was a love match. She had no idea she was auditioning for a role. Well, what did she expect? She brought a modest trust fund and nice cheekbones to the marriage. Brandon brought billions. Did she really think that was about love? The baby is all they wanted. Good genetics. Legitimate heir. Then goodbye, Claire. I heard she gets $2 million in a small apartment if she signs everything over quietly. What if she does not sign? Then they will make her. You saw that prenup. Plus they have 3 doctors ready to testify about her mental state. Postpartum psychosis can start during pregnancy. Apparently, they will have that baby the moment she is born, and Claire will be lucky if she gets supervised visitation. The voices faded as the women moved away. I sat frozen, phone still in my hand. They were going to take my baby. Not someday. Not if I did not cooperate. They were going to take her no matter what I did. The agreement, the doctors, the whole setup. It was all designed to strip me of every shred of power. I do not know how long I sat in that bathroom. Time moved strangely, thick and slow like honey. Eventually there was a soft knock on the door. Mrs. Sutton, a female voice, young and gentle. Mrs. Sutton, the doctor is here. We need to do a quick check on the baby, just to make sure all the stress has not caused any problems. I opened the door. A woman in her 30s stood there with a kind smile. She wore casual clothes, not scrubs, but she held a medical bag. I am Dr. Sarah Collins. I specialize in high-risk pregnancies. Your mother-in-law asked me to come check on you and the little one. May I? Something about her felt wrong. Her smile was too practiced. Her eyes were too watchful. But what choice did I have? What if the stress really had hurt the baby? She led me to a small sitting room off the main hallway, had me lie on a leather couch while she pulled out a portable ultrasound. The cold gel on my belly made me gasp. She moved the wand slowly, watching the screen. Heartbeat is strong, she said. Baby looks good, but your blood pressure is elevated, which is concerning at this stage. I think we should keep you somewhere quiet for observation, just for tonight. I want to go home, to my apartment. I do not think that is wise, given your condition. She pulled out a tablet and started typing. I am going to recommend 24 hours of monitoring in a controlled environment. You mean you are going to keep me here against my will? She looked up at me. Her eyes were not unkind, but they were firm. I mean, I am going to make a medical recommendation in the best interest of your unborn child. What you do with that recommendation is up to you. But if you leave and something happens to the baby because you are under stress, well, that will look very bad in court. Won't it? There it was. The threat wrapped in concern. The trap closing another inch. Can I at least call my sister? Your phone will be kept with your personal effects. For your rest. Too much screen time raises stress hormones. We want you and baby calm. She held out her hand. I stared at it. This was the moment. I could fight. I could scream. I could refuse and run. But run where? Back to my apartment that Brandon knew the address of, to my sister who had no power against the Sutton legal machine, To the police who would see a hysterical pregnant woman making wild accusations against one of the richest families in the city, I handed her my phone. She smiled like I had made the right choice. Good. Now let us get you back to the party for just a few more minutes. Diane wants to make an announcement. Then we will get you settled in your room. My room. Like I was a guest. Like I was not a prisoner. We walked back to the ballroom. The party was in full swing now. People laughed and danced. Champagne flowed. Christmas music played. It was beautiful and horrible, and completely surreal. Diane stood near the Christmas tree, a massive thing that nearly touched the ceiling. She was holding a small velvet box. When she saw me, her face lit up with a smile that made my blood run cold. Claire, darling, there you are. Come here. Please, I have something special. I walked toward her because what else could I do? My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. The baby had gone still again, hiding. Tessa appeared from the crowd and stood next to Diane. The three of us formed a triangle by the glittering tree. Brandon joined us, completing the picture. The happy family. Diane raised her voice to carry across the ballroom. Friends, family, thank you all for being here tonight. We gather to celebrate honesty, to celebrate new beginnings, to celebrate love in all its forms. She opened the velvet box. Inside was a diamond bracelet that probably cost more than my car. It caught the Christmas lights and threw rainbows across her hands. For the woman who has captured my son's heart completely, Diane announced. For Tessa, who brings him joy in partnership and true companionship. She lifted the bracelet and fastened it around Tessa's wrist with careful precision. Tessa looked genuinely touched, almost teary. She kissed Diane's cheek and thanked her softly. Then Diane turned to me. From her pocket, she produced another small box. This one was cheaper, simple black cardboard. She opened it to reveal a strand of pearls, the kind you could buy at a department store for $200, serviceable, maternal, dismissive. And for Claire, Diane said, her voice warm but her eyes cold. For the gift of the Sutton heir, for her service to this family. Service, like I was the help, like I was a transaction. She did not offer to put the necklace on me, just held out the box and waited for me to take it. 200 people watched. My hand moved without my permission. I took the box, felt the cheap weight of the pearls. Thank you, I heard myself whisper. Diane's smile widened. Now, Claire, I think a gesture of grace would show everyone here what a modern, understanding woman you are. What a good mother you will be. Every instinct I had screamed danger. What kind of gesture? Kneel, Diane said softly, so softly that only those closest could hear. Kneel and thank Tessa for bringing happiness to your husband. Show us all that you understand your place in this new family structure. The word hung in the air like a blade. Kneel. No. My voice came out stronger than I expected. No, I will not do that. You cannot make me. Cannot make you. Diane tilted her head. Claire, dear, I have 3 doctors ready to testify about your emotional instability. I have video of you screaming at my son earlier tonight. I have witnesses who will say you have been erratic and paranoid throughout your pregnancy. If you walk out of here without showing some grace, some understanding, we will have your daughter the moment she is born. You will be declared an unfit mother before she takes her first breath. Brandon spoke up then, his voice reasonable. Claire, just do this one thing. Cooperate tonight and we can work out arrangements that benefit everyone. Be difficult and you will lose everything. I looked at Tessa. She had backed up a step, looking uncomfortable now. But she did not speak, did not stop this. Just stood there in her red dress and new diamonds and waited to see if I would humiliate myself for her entertainment. The baby kicked once, hard enough to make me gasp. My knees buckled. I told myself it was involuntary, that my pregnant body just could not hold me up anymore. But that was a lie. I knelt because I was trapped, because they had me cornered, because I was choosing this small humiliation to avoid a bigger loss. The marble floor was so cold it burned. I had to brace one hand on the ground to keep my balance with my belly in the way. My green velvet dress pooled around me like spilled wine. Someone in the crowd gasped. Someone else laughed. The sound quickly stifled. I heard phones clicking, capturing this moment forever. I looked up at Tessa. She towered over me now, the power dynamic made physical and undeniable. "I am sorry," she mouthed silently. Just that. But she did not help me up, did not refuse the tribute, just stood there accepting what Diane demanded. The words stuck in my throat. I could not do it, could not say the words that would cement my humiliation. Diane cleared her throat. A warning, a reminder of what I stood to lose. I thought of my daughter, of the life I wanted to give her, of keeping her safe, even if it cost me everything. "Thank you, I whispered. The words tasted like ashes. "Thank you, Tessa, for making Brandon happy." Silence, complete and total silence. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. 200 people held their breath. Then Diane started clapping. Slow, deliberate applause. "Wonderful. What grace. This is how ladies handle difficult situations." Others joined in. The applause rippled through the ballroom like a disease. I knelt there, unable to move, unable to process what had just happened. Brandon finally stepped forward and extended his hand to help me up, like he was being chivalrous, like he had not just watched me degrade myself at his mother's command. I stared at his hand. Then I pushed myself up without his help. It took 3 tries. My pregnant belly made it difficult, ungainly, but I managed. I stood there swaying, the cheap pearls clutched in my fist, and looked at the 200 faces watching me. Some looked ashamed now. Some looked hungry for more. Most just looked relieved it was over. "There now," Diane said brightly. "That was not so difficult. Now we can all enjoy the rest of the evening." She gestured to the string quartet. They started playing again. Conversations resumed. Waitstaff circulated with champagne. The party continued like nothing had happened, like I had not just been broken in front of everyone I knew. Dr. Collins appeared at my elbow. "Come, Mrs. Sutton, let us get you settled. You need rest." She guided me toward the private elevator at the back of the penthouse. No one tried to stop us. No one said goodbye. I was already forgotten. The entertainment over. The elevator took us up one more floor. I had not known there was anything above the penthouse. Apparently there was a private residence level, even more exclusive. The doors opened onto a marble foyer with only 2 doors. "The Sutton family quarters," Dr. Collins explained. "You will stay in the guest suite, very comfortable. Private bathroom, sitting room, bedroom, everything you need." What I needed was to go home, to call my sister, to run as far and fast as my pregnant body could carry me. But I followed Dr. Collins through the right-hand door into a beautiful prison. The suite was decorated in soft grays and whites, plush carpet, elegant furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a king-size bed with 1,000 thread-count sheets, fresh flowers on every surface. It looked like a luxury hotel room. It also had a lock on the outside of the door. "I will be staying in the suite next door," Dr. Collins said. "If you need anything, just press this button." She indicated a call button mounted on the wall by the bed. "But try to rest. No excitement, no stress, for the baby." "When can I leave?" "We will reassess in the morning. Diane will want to go over some paperwork with you. Legal things. Best to have a clear head for that. I want a lawyer, my own lawyer." "Of course. We will arrange that tomorrow as well. For tonight, just rest." She handed me a paper cup with 2 pills inside. "Prenatal vitamins, to help you sleep." I looked at the pills. They were not the vitamins I usually took. These were bigger, a different color. "What are they really?" "Exactly what I said. Vitamins with a mild sedative, to help you relax." Her smile never wavered. "You can refuse them, of course, but I will need to make a note in my report about patient noncompliance and elevated agitation. Those notes tend to matter in custody hearings." Another trap, another choice that was not really a choice. I took the pills and swallowed them with water from a bottle she provided. She watched to make sure they went down. "Good. Now, I will take your personal effects for safekeeping." She held out her hand. I gave her my purse. "My phone already." She smiled and left. I heard the lock click from the outside. I stood alone in my gilded cage and felt the sedative start to work. My limbs grew heavy. My thoughts turned fuzzy at the edges. I made it to the bed before I collapsed. As I drifted toward unconscious darkness, I thought about my daughter. growing inside me, innocent and unaware that she was already a pawn in someone else's game. I placed my hand on my belly and made her a silent promise. I will fight for you. I will find a way out of this. I will not let them win. Then the darkness took me under. I woke to daylight streaming through the windows. My head felt stuffed with cotton. My mouth was dry. For a moment, I could not remember where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The party, the photos, the kneeling. I was a prisoner in the Sutton family tower. I sat up slowly. My body ached like I had been hit by a truck. The baby shifted inside me, sluggish and unhappy. Whatever they had given me had affected her too. There was a tray of food on the bedside table. Fresh fruit, yogurt, orange juice, a note in elegant handwriting. Eat, keep your strength up. Diane will see you at 2 p.m. I checked the windows. They did not open. The door was still locked from outside. There was no phone in the room, no computer, no way to communicate with the outside world. Think, Claire, think. I ate the food because I needed energy. I showered in the marble bathroom and found fresh clothes laid out for me. Soft pants, a loose sweater, maternity clothes in my size. They had planned everything. At exactly 2 p.m., I heard the lock click. Diane entered with Miles Brennan, the attorney. They both smiled like we were old friends meeting for tea. Good afternoon, Claire. I trust you slept well. Diane settled into an armchair. Miles sat beside her, briefcase on his lap. When can I leave? When we have reached an understanding. Diane folded her hands in her lap. Miles has prepared some documents, simple custody agreements, support arrangements, non-disclosure clauses. Sign them and you can go home today. Fight us and this gets very ugly, very fast. Miles opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. He set them on the coffee table between us. This first one transfers primary physical custody of the minor child to Brandon Sutton upon birth. You will have visitation rights, supervised initially, then potentially expanding based on your cooperation and mental health evaluations. Mental health evaluations. Standard in high-conflict custody situations, Miles said smoothly. Nothing to worry about if you are stable. I laughed. It came out harsh and broken. You keep me prisoner, drug me, threaten me, and then question my mental health. That is rich. Prisoner is such a strong word, Diane said. You are a guest receiving medical monitoring for a high-risk pregnancy. Dr. Collins's notes reflect your elevated blood pressure, your emotional volatility, your concerning behavior at last night's party, all documented, all admissible in court. I looked at the papers spread before me. My daughter's future signed away in dense legal language. My rights dissolved. My life reduced to supervised visits and non-disclosure agreements. What if I refuse to sign? Diane's smile turned cold. Then we will have your daughter the moment she is born. We have everything in place. Court orders, medical authorizations, psychiatric evaluations. You will be declared temporarily unfit. By the time you fight your way through the system, she will be months old. She will not know you. She will think Tessa is her mother. Is that what you want? The baby kicked hard, like she was fighting too. I placed my hand over her and felt her moving, alive, depending on me to protect her. I need time to think. You have 1 hour. Diane stood. Then Dr. Collins will do another evaluation. I hope for everyone's sake you make the right choice. They left. The lock clicked again. I stared at the documents and felt the walls closing in. That is when I noticed it. A small tablet tucked between the couch cushions. An iPad. Someone had left it there, hidden but accessible. My hands shook as I pulled it out. The screen lit up. It was not password protected. The browser was open to a search history that made my blood run cold. How to induce early labor at 32 weeks safely. Newborn custody laws, surrogate cases. Postpartum psychosis symptoms checklist. Mental competency hearings. Family court. They were planning to induce labor early. Take the baby before I reached full term. Before I was strong enough to fight. Every piece was falling into place. The drugs, the monitoring, the documents. I was not just a prisoner. I was on a timer. My finger hovered over the iPad screen, ready to search for help, when a notification popped up, a message from an unknown number. Claire, do not react. Pretend to read documents. This message will delete in the 60 seconds. My heart hammered against my ribs. I glanced at the door, still locked. I focused on the screen. My name is Detective Ryan Cole, Financial Crimes Division. I have been investigating Brandon Sutton for 18 months. You met me last night? I was the Santa at the children's photo station. Santa, I tried to remember. There had been a setup for kids near the entrance. An older man with a real beard and kind eyes. He had smiled at me when I passed, had slipped something into my hand. A card. I had shoved it in my purse thinking it was a business card from another guest. My purse that Dr. Collins now had. The message continued. The woman you know as Dr. Sarah Collins is actually Officer Julie Reynolds, working undercover with me. The iPad was left intentionally. You are being recorded, but we control the feed. Pretend to have a breakdown. We need you to sell this. Sell what? What was happening? Brandon is not just having an affair. He has embezzled $40 million from Morrison Industries through shell companies. Tessa Vaughn is not her real name. She is Tessa Carver, married to Garrett Lang, who works as Brandon's CFO. They are running a sophisticated long con, seduce wealthy men, help them hide money, then eliminate them and take everything. Her last husband died under suspicious circumstances in Hong Kong. Insurance fraud was suspected, but never proven. $40 million. Murder. This was so much bigger than an affair. They plan to induce your labor in 3 days. Take the baby. Have you declared unfit, then flee to Monaco. We need them to attempt the money transfer first, or we cannot arrest them on the financial charges. Can you hold on for 72 hours? 3 days. 3 days of being a prisoner, of being drugged, of being one step away from losing everything. If you can, we will get you out. If you cannot, text help now to this number and we raid immediately. But we might lose them on the financial charges. They could walk. Your choice. The message deleted itself. The screen went dark. I sat there holding the tablet, my mind racing. Could I trust this? Was it real or another layer of manipulation? How did I know this was not Brandon's people testing me, giving me false hope so they could document my paranoia? But what if it was real? What if help was coming, his baby kicked? Strong now. Fighting. Like she was telling me to be strong too. I made my decision. I stood up and threw the tablet across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Then I screamed, long and loud and full of rage. I grabbed the documents and ripped them into pieces, threw them in the air like confetti, kicked over the coffee table. The door burst open. Julie Reynolds rushed in with 2 men in suits. Security. Mrs. Sutton, you need to calm down. Calm down. You want me to calm down? I let my voice go shrill, hysterical. You people are insane. You are keeping me prisoner. You are trying to steal my baby. I will not sign anything. You cannot make me. Clearly you are too agitated for rational discussion. Julie pulled out a syringe. I am going to give you something to help you relax. No, no more drugs. I backed toward the windows. Stay away from me. Mrs. Sutton, think of the baby. That broke something in me. Real tears came now, hot and fast. I am thinking of the baby. I am thinking that she deserves better than this. Better than all of you. Julie moved closer. The security guards flanked me. I had nowhere to run. Please, I whispered. Please just let me go. I will sign anything you want. Just let me leave. Not until we are sure you are stable. Wish Julie's voice was gentle, but her eyes were sharp, watching me carefully. This will only help you sleep. When you wake up, we will try again. The needle went into my arm. I felt the cold rush of whatever medication she was giving me. My legs went weak. The guards caught me before I hit the ground and carried me to the bed. As the world went fuzzy, I heard Julie's voice, soft by my ear. 72 hours. Hold on. So it was real. They were real. Help was coming. I just had to survive 3 more days. Time became strange after that. I would wake, eat food that was left for me, pretend to read the documents, then drift away again. They were keeping me sedated. Just aware enough to be compliant but too foggy to fight. But I fought in small ways. I hid pills under my tongue and spit them out when no one was looking. I pretended to sleep when people came to check on me, listening to their conversations. That is how I learned the truth. On the second night, Diane came to check on me. I lay still with my eyes closed, breathing deep and slow. She stood by the bed talking on her phone. The transfer is set for tomorrow night. 40 million moves to the Monaco accounts. Then we are on a plane by midnight. Brandon, Tessa, and the baby. Claire signs the papers in the morning or we do this the hard way. What about the doctor? A male voice on speaker. Brandon. She induces labor tomorrow afternoon. Baby is delivered here in the suite. We have a team standing by. By the time Claire realizes what happened, we will be gone. And if she fights the custody later, she will not. Not when she sees what we have planned. The recordings, the psychiatric reports, the testimony from everyone at the party. She will be lucky to get the supervised visits once a month. Besides, by then we will be untouchable. Monaco has no extradition for financial crimes. They were going to take my baby tomorrow. Tomorrow. I waited until Diane left. Then I felt under the mattress for the burner phone Julie had slipped me during one of her medical checks. My fingers found it. I pulled it out and texted the number saved in contacts. They move tomorrow night. Taking baby tomorrow afternoon. Cannot wait longer. The response came immediately. Understood. Stay strong. We will be ready. I deleted the text and hid the phone again. Then I lay in the dark and felt my daughter moving inside me and prayed I had done the right thing. Morning came with bright winter sun. I heard the lock click and sat up as Julie entered with her medical bag. Good morning, Mrs. Sutton. How are we feeling today? Tired, scared, ready for this to be over. She set down her bag and pulled out equipment. I need to do an examination. Check on the baby. She helped me lie back and pulled up my sweater. As she ran the ultrasound wand over my belly, she leaned close. Can you walk? She whispered, her voice barely audible. I nodded slightly. Can you act? Really act? Another small nod. Good. In 1 hour, Miles will bring the custody papers. You are going to sign them. You are going to be cooperative and broken. Understand? I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight, but I nodded again. We need them to think they won. We need them to start the money transfer. The moment those funds move, we execute the raid. But you need to play along until then. Can you do that, Itama? What about the baby? They are going to induce labor. No, they are not. I swapped out the induction medication for saline. You will be fine. But you need to act like you are in labor. Sell it hard. We need everyone in this penthouse when we move. Everyone. She pulled back and spoke in her normal voice. Baby looks good. Heartbeat is strong. You have been very compliant. Claire, I think we can make this easier on everyone. I just want it to be over, I said truthfully. Soon, very soon. In an hour later, exactly as predicted, Miles arrived with Diane and the documents. I sat at the small table and took the pen he offered. Last chance to do this the easy way, Diane said. I looked at the pages. My daughter's entire future. My rights. My life. All reduced to signatures and witness lines. I signed every page, every clause. I signed away my child because I had no choice, because I was trusting strangers who claimed they were police, because I was out of options and out of time. Good girl, Diane said when I finished. She actually patted my hand. You made the right choice. You will see. This is better for everyone. When can I leave? After the baby is born. We need to ensure a smooth transition. Tomorrow, I think, you will deliver here, quietly and privately. Then you can go home and start your new life. With $2 million in supervised visitation. It is more than you had when you married Brandon, Diane said. Be grateful. They left with the signed documents. I sat there feeling empty and terrified. What if the police did not come? What if this was all an elaborate setup? What if I had just signed away my daughter for nothing? Hours passed. Lunch came and went. I could not eat. The baby was restless, moving constantly like she knew something was wrong. At 4 p.m., Julie returned. Well, time for your medication, Claire. She held out a cup of water and a pill. I knew it was fake. Celine, she said. But what if she was lying? What if this was real and they were actually going to induce labor and steal my baby? I took the pill and swallowed it. Now we wait, Julie said. Should be about 2 hours before contractions start. I will be right here monitoring you. She sat in the chair by the window and pulled out a tablet. I lay on the bed and pretended to rest. My mind raced. 2 hours. What was supposed to happen in 2 hours? At 5:30, Julie's tablet beeped. She glanced at it and her face changed. Just for a second, a flash of intensity. How are you feeling, Claire? Any cramping? A little, I lied. Some pressure. That is normal. Let me check you. She did a quick examination, all for show. Then she pulled out her phone and sent a text. I could not see what it said. I think we should move you to the delivery suite, Julie said. Just to be safe. Delivery suite here. The Suttons have a fully equipped medical room on this floor. For privacy. Come on, let's get you settled. She helped me stand. My legs shook, but not from medication, from fear, from anticipation. Something was about to happen. I could feel it building like electricity in the air before a storm. We walked down the hallway to another door. Julie unlocked it, and we entered a room that looked like a private hospital suite. Medical equipment, a hospital bed, monitors, everything needed for a delivery. Brandon was already there, along with Diane and Tessa. They all looked tense, excited, like they were waiting for Christmas morning. How long? Brandon asked Julie. Couple hours, maybe less. First babies can be unpredictable. We need to move the money before she delivers, Diane said. I do not want any complications. Brandon pulled out his phone. Garrett is standing by. The moment I confirm the accounts are ready, he will execute the transfer. Do it now, Diane said. We are too close to wait. I lay on the hospital bed and watched them. My daughter's father, her grandmother, the woman who wanted to replace me. They stood around discussing money and logistics like I was not even there, like I was just the vessel, already empty and irrelevant. Brandon made a call. Garrett, we are ready. Start the sequence. He put the phone on speaker. A male voice came through, strained and urgent. The accounts are showing ready status. I am initiating the transfer now. 40 million moving from Sutton Industries, operating accounts to Monaco receiving accounts. Transaction time, 10 minutes. Make sure the trail is clean, Brandon said. Clean as a whistle. By the time anyone notices, we will be gone. That is when I heard it. The sound that changed everything. Heavy footsteps in the hallway. Multiple people moving fast. The door burst open. Detective Ryan Cole entered first, still wearing the Santa beard, but now with a police vest over his red suit. Behind him came a flood of officers, FBI agents in tactical gear, weapons drawn. FBI, nobody move hands where we can see them. The room exploded into chaos. Brandon dropped his phone and tried to run. Two agents tackled him to the ground. Tessa screamed and backed against the wall. Diane stood frozen, her face going from shock to rage to calculation in seconds. This is a mistake, Diane said, her voice icy calm. We are the Sutton family. You cannot just burst in here. We can, and we did, Cole said. We have warrants for sentences for Brandon Sutton, Diane Sutton, Tessa Carver, and Garrett Lang. Wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. Kidnapping, that is absurd. Claire is our guest. A guest who was locked in a room and forcibly medicated. Cole walked to my bedside. Mrs. Ashford, are you hurt? Do you need medical attention? I shook my head. Tears streamed down my face, but I could not speak. It was over. It was actually over. More agents entered, these ones from financial crimes. They were already on laptops, tracking the money transfer in real time. We have confirmation, one called out. 40 million in motion from Sutton Industries to numbered Monaco accounts. Transfer is 90% complete. Stop it, Brandon screamed from the floor where agents held him down. Stop the transfer. Too late, Cole said. The moment those funds moved, you committed a federal crime. We have been watching those accounts for months. Every shell company, every fake invoice, every fraudulent transfer, all documented, all admissible. You cannot prove I authorized that transfer. It could be anyone. Could be a hack. You authorized it on a recorded phone call 30 seconds ago. We have the audio. Cole nodded to Julie. Officer Reynolds did excellent work. Every conversation in this room for the past 3 days has been recorded. Brandon's face went white. He looked at Julie. You, you were working with them this whole time. 18 months undercover in the Sutton organization. Julie said, best assignment I ever had. Watching you people destroy lives made it very easy to stay motivated. Diane finally moved, lunging toward the door. Two female agents caught her before she made it 2 steps. They zip-tied her hands behind her back with practiced efficiency. Diane Sutton, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, accessory to kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent. This is not over, Diane hissed. We have lawyers. We have connections. We will bury you. Ma'am, your connections are currently being raided by federal agents. Your lawyers are going to be very busy defending themselves. The Sutton family empire is done. They let her out, still protesting. Brandon went next, in handcuffs, his face a mask of rage and disbelief. He looked at me one last time as they took him past. You did this. You ruined everything. No, I said quietly. You did this. I just survived it. Tessa tried a different approach. She started crying, going for sympathy. I did not know. Brandon told me it was legal. He said these were legitimate business transactions. I am a victim too. Tessa Carver, Cole said, pulling out another warrant. Also known as Tessa Vaughn, also known as Tessa Ming, you are wanted for questioning in the death of Charles Bradford in Hong Kong. You are also under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and conspiracy to commit murder. Murder. Her tears stopped instantly, her face going hard. You cannot prove anything. Your partner, Garrett Lang, is singing like a bird downstairs. He told us all about your plans to eliminate Brandon once you made it to Monaco. Same way you eliminated Charles Bradford. Insurance fraud, inheritance schemes, the whole operation. You should have picked better partners. Ms. Carver, Garrett cares more about avoiding a life sentence than protecting you. They took her away, still protesting. The room cleared slowly as agents processed the scene, collected evidence, secured the medical equipment that had been set up for my forced delivery. Cole sat on the chair beside my bed. How are you holding up? I do not know. I feel like I am in a dream, like I am going to wake up and still be locked in that suite. You are not locked anywhere. You are free. They will never touch you or your daughter again. My daughter. I put my hand on my belly. Is she really safe? The medication Officer Reynolds gave you was completely harmless. Saline and prenatal vitamins. Your daughter is fine, but we should get you to a real hospital. Have you checked out properly? My sister. I need to call my sister. She has been trying to reach me for days. She must be frantic. She is in the lobby with about 15 other people who have been trying to get up here. We kept them back during the operation. You want me to bring her up? Yes, please. 5 minutes later, Paige burst into the room and threw her arms around me. We both cried, holding each other while agents moved around us collecting evidence. I tried to get to you, Tom, Paige sobbed. I called the police, but they said without proof of a crime they could not enter private property. I tried to get a lawyer, but it was Christmas and everyone was away. I have been standing in that lobby for 2 days demanding they let me see you. I know you tried. You warned me not to go to that party. I should have listened. You are listening now. That is what matters. An EMT team arrived to take me to the hospital for evaluation. As they wheeled me toward the elevator, I saw the remnants of last night's party. The Christmas tree still stood, decorations glittering. The champagne tower had been knocked over during the raid, glass and liquid spreading across the marble floor. The beautiful penthouse looked like a crime scene now. Yellow tape, evidence markers, agents cataloging every detail. The fairy tale had revealed its true nature, a nightmare dressed in expensive wrapping paper. At the hospital, doctors confirmed what Julie had said. The baby was fine. I was fine, physically at least. Elevated blood pressure, signs of stress, but nothing that would not heal with time and safety. They kept me overnight for observation. Paige stayed in a chair beside my bed. We talked through the night, processing everything that had happened. What are you going to do now? Paige asked as dawn broke through the window. I do not know. Start over, I guess. Figure out who I am without being Mrs. Sutton. You were never Mrs. Sutton. You were always Claire Ashford. You just forgot for a while. She was right, I had disappeared into that marriage, into the role they wanted me to play. But I was still in here somewhere, the real me, the one who had survived. 3 months passed in a blur of legal proceedings, therapy sessions, and preparing for my daughter's arrival. The Sutton case became national news. Every detail of their scheme was exposed. The embezzlement, the manipulation, the forced kneeling that someone had filmed and leaked online. The video went viral. Millions of views. Everyone had an opinion about what I should have done, how I should have fought back sooner, why I stayed so long. The judgment was harsh and constant, but it also opened doors. Women reached out to share their own stories of coercive control, of being trapped in situations that looked perfect from outside. Therapists contacted me about speaking on recognizing manipulation. Lawyers wanted to use my case to push for stronger protections for pregnant women. My daughter was born in April, early but healthy. I named her Noel Grace Ashford. Grace for having survived. Noel for the Christmas that destroyed one life and built another. She had my eyes and my nose and nothing of Brandon in her that I could see. Maybe I was just looking for that. Maybe I needed her to be only mine. The trial started when Noel was 2 months old. I testified for 4 days. Told everything. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the party, the kneeling, the imprisonment. Defense attorneys tried to paint me as bitter, as vindictive, as a scorned woman seeking revenge, but the evidence spoke for itself. $40 million in fraudulent transfers, 18 months of documented criminal activity, testimony from Officer Julie Reynolds about the forced sedation and planned forced labor, the recordings of Diane and Brandon discussing taking my baby. The jury took 6 hours to convict on all counts. Brandon got 25 years federal prison. Diane got 15. Tessa was extradited to Hong Kong for the Charles Bradford murder investigation, with additional 20 years waiting for her in the U.S. if she ever made it back. Garrett Lang, who had turned state's evidence, got 7 years with possibility of parole after 3. I sat in the courtroom with Paige on one side and Detective Cole on the other, holding sleeping Noel, and watched them taken away in handcuffs. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not relief, just emptiness where all the fear used to be. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, cameras flashed, questions flew. I had prepared a statement with my lawyer. I want to thank the FBI, particularly Detective Cole and Officer Reynolds, for their incredible work. I want to thank my sister Paige for never giving up on me. And I want to say something to anyone watching who feels trapped in a relationship that does not feel right. I paused, adjusting Noel in my arms. She yawned, tiny and perfect and completely unaware of the cameras. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone tells you you are crazy or paranoid or too sensitive, get a second opinion. Document everything. Tell people. Do not suffer in silence because you are afraid of being dramatic or difficult or causing problems. How do you feel about the verdict? A reporter shouted. I feel like justice was served. But more than that, I feel free. The Suttons do not control my life anymore. They do not control my daughter's future. We get to decide who we are and who we become. That is worth more than any amount of money or any guilty verdict. Well, do you forgive them? The question caught me off guard. Did I forgive them? I thought about it honestly. No, maybe someday, but not today. Forgiveness is not required for healing. I can move forward without forgiving them. I can build a good life for my daughter without letting go of my anger at what they did. Maybe that makes me petty or bitter. I do not really care anymore about what people think I should feel. That honesty felt good, liberating. I did not owe anyone pretty emotions or graceful forgiveness. I was allowed to be angry. I was allowed to carry that anger as long as I needed to. The civil suit settled quickly after the criminal convictions. The Sutton assets were frozen and eventually liquidated. I received $40 million in damages, the exact amount Brandon had tried to steal and flee with. Poetic justice. My lawyer called it. I gave half of it away. Set up a foundation called Noel's Law to help pregnant women escape coercive situations. Funded legal aid, therapy, safe housing. Turned my nightmare into something that might help others. The other half I put in trust for Noelle. When she turned 25, she would have financial security and choices. She would never be trapped by money the way I had been. I kept my brownstone apartment and sold nothing. Built a life that was simple and mine, went back to school, got my degree in social work, started volunteering at the foundation, helping other women tell their stories and find their strength. Noel grew into a happy, fierce toddler. She was stubborn and loud and absolutely sure of herself. Everything I had not been at her age. I was determined she would never learn to make herself smaller for anyone. On her first birthday, we had a small party, just Paige, Detective Cole and his wife, Officer Julie Reynolds, my therapist, and a few friends I had made in my support group. No champagne fountains, no ice sculptures. Just cake and balloons and people who genuinely cared. As I watched Noel destroy her birthday cake, smearing frosting everywhere and laughing with pure joy, I felt something shift inside me. The last piece of the old Claire fell away. The one who had knelt on marble floors. The one who had apologized for existing. The one who had believed she was lucky to be tolerated. That woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger. Someone who had been broken and had learned that breaking was not the end. It was the beginning of becoming whole in a different way. Christmas came again, as it always does. The second Christmas since that night, Noelle was almost 2 years old now, talking in full sentences and completely convinced she could fly if she tried hard enough. We spent Christmas Eve at Paige's house. She had moved into a bigger place and hosted the family gathering. Just us. Really, Paige and her girlfriend Morgan, Detective Cole and his wife, Julie Reynolds and her husband, the chosen family I had built from the ruins of the old home. We made cookies shaped like snowmen. We watched old movies. We let Noelle stay up way too late. It was perfect in its imperfection. Real in a way that party 2 years ago had never been. On Christmas morning, Noelle woke me at 5 a.m. demanding to see if Santa had come. We went downstairs to find presents under our small tree. Nothing extravagant, just thoughtful gifts from people who actually knew us. After Noel had torn through the wrapping paper and was happily playing with a toy kitchen, I sat with my coffee and looked out at the snowy street. My phone buzzed. A message from Detective Cole. "Merry Christmas, Claire. Thought you should know. Brandon filed for appeal. It was denied this morning. The conviction stands. You are safe." I read it twice. Then I deleted it. I did not need updates about Brandon anymore. He was not part of my life. He was a chapter that was closed, a story that was over. Noel brought me a plastic cup of pretend tea from her new kitchen. "Mama, drink. It is yummy." I took the cup and pretended to sip. "Delicious. Thank you, baby." "I am not baby. I am big girl." "You are right. You are a big girl. I am sorry." She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her cooking. I watched her play and felt my phone buzz again. This time it was an email from the foundation. We had just secured funding to expand to 3 more cities, 3 more places where women could find help, find support, find a way out. One woman in the email had written to thank me personally. She said watching my story had given her courage to leave her own abusive marriage. She was 6 months free now and rebuilding her life. She ended with, "You saved me without even knowing it. Thank you for being brave." I was not brave. I wanted to tell her. I was just desperate and lucky. Lucky that Detective Cole had been investigating Brandon. Lucky that Julie Reynolds had been willing to go undercover. Lucky that the raid had happened before they took my baby. But maybe luck was a kind of bravery. Maybe surviving when everything told you to give up was courage, even if it did not feel heroic in the moment. Paige called mid-morning. "Turn on Channel 7. They are doing a special on coercive control. They are featuring your case." I did not want to watch. Did not want to see the photos again. The video of me kneeling. The interviews with people who had been at that party. But I turned it on anyway. The segment was actually good. Focused less on the spectacle and more on the patterns of abuse. How it escalates. How normal people get trapped. How hard it is to leave. They interviewed therapists and lawyers and other survivors. At the end, they showed a brief clip of me from the courthouse steps. "Trust your instincts," my voice said. "If something feels wrong, it probably is." The host came back on screen. Claire Ashford's story shocked the nation. But statistics tell us her experience is not unique. 1 in 4 women will experience severe intimate partner violence in their lifetime. If you or someone you know needs help, resources are listed on our website. I turned off the TV. Noelle looked up from her toys. Mama sad. No, baby. I am not sad. I am remembering. Sometimes remembering is important. Remembering what? How do you explain to a 2-year-old that she was almost stolen, that her father is in prison, that her grandmother tried to have her mother declared insane? You do not. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some burdens were mine to carry, so she did not have to. Remembering that we are lucky, I said instead. We have each other. We have Aunt Paige. We have friends who love us. That is a lot to be grateful for. And cookies, Noel added seriously. We have cookies, too. Yes, and cookies, very important. That afternoon, I did something I had been avoiding for 2 years. I drove past the Sutton Tower. The building still stood, 50 stories of glass and steel, but it was mostly empty now. The company had collapsed after Brandon's arrest. The scandal had destroyed the family name. The penthouse had been sold to pay a restitution to defrauded investors. I parked across the street and looked up at the top floor. The windows were dark. Whatever had happened in those rooms was history now. Ghosts and memories and evidence that had been cataloged and filed away. I had knelt on those marble floors, had been broken in those beautiful rooms, had thought my life was over in that gilded cage. But I had survived, had fought back, had risen. Kneeling did not make me weak. The rising made me strong. I drove home as snow began to fall. Noel was with Paige, safe and happy. I had the evening to myself. I made dinner, took a bath, read a book that had nothing to do with trauma or healing or surviving. Just a story about normal people living normal lives. Before bed, I wrote in the journal my therapist had me keep. Not about the trial or Brandon or the foundation. Just about today. About Noel's laugh. About the cookies we made. About the quiet peace of an ordinary Christmas with people who loved me. At the end I wrote 2 years ago, I thought being broken was the end of my story. Turns out it was the beginning. I am not the same person who walked into that party. I am not the woman who knelt. I am someone new. Someone I am proud to be. Someone who knows her worth and will never kneel for anyone's cruelty again. I closed the journal and turned out the light. Tomorrow I would wake up and be a mother, an advocate, a survivor. But tonight I was just Claire. Whole and free and exactly where I was supposed to be. The nightmare was over. The healing continued. And every day I became a little bit more of who I was always meant to be. Not Mrs. Sutton, not victim or survivor or any other label. Just me, Claire Ashford. Strong enough to have been broken. Brave enough to have healed. Wise enough to know the difference between kneeling and falling. Between breaking and transformation. They had tried to destroy me on that marble floor 2 Christmases ago. Instead, they had set me free. And that, I thought as sleep pulled me under, was the best revenge of all. Not their prison sentences, not the money, not even the justice. Just my freedom. Just my joy. Just the simple, profound act of surviving and thriving despite everything they did to stop me. I had won, not because they lost, but because I refused to stay broken. And tomorrow, I would wake up and win again.